Good morning, everyone. On behalf of WeCare, I would like to welcome all our members and delegates to the webinar. We'll be starting the webinar at 10:30. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of WeCare, I would like to welcome all our members and delegates to the webinar. We'll be starting the webinar in a minute now. Good morning to all the members and delegates. Welcome to yet another webinar of WeCare. And today's webinar, as you all know, is on sustainable transition to sustainable packaging. Without further delay, I would now request Dr. Atul Sood to give the welcome address. Thank you.
Dear friends, it is said that, in words of Henry Ford, coming together is a beginning, staying together is progress, and working together is success. Uh, Respected guests, it is my privilege to share with you one such success story. And I welcome the august gathering of professionals and subject matter experts today to deliberate on one of the most important topics that form a basis of driving today's agenda for. As members of VCare, we are all very positive about notification of the national EPR framework. And as we prepare ourselves to brace the new model, in the long run, we are all conscious and aware of the fact that availability of sustainable and scalable alternatives to the current packaging material holds the key to solve the current impasse over growing plastic concern around the globe. It is also our solemn belief that plastic is no longer a waste. In our previous discussions, we did touch upon this aspect in greater length. And given that circular economy is now developing around this, it has to be looked at differently. It has to be seen as a very, very valuable resource. And we just need to find ways to exploit its unlocked value. I am also equally overwhelmed by the large participation that was witnessed by our first session on the 14th, and by the quality of inputs and suggestions and recommendations that were made by our viewers and participants. If you will recollect, we had the privilege of listening to Mr. Chandrabhushan, who, while agreeing and supporting the national EPR framework, did also allude to a very, very important element of this whole plastic waste management framework, saying that municipality has a very, very important role, and we will have to ensure that ULBs and government agencies come forward and support implementation of the national EPR framework. He also emphasized on the fact that management of plastic waste has to be integrated with the concept of solid waste management, and both of them have to be looked together and not in isolation. We also had Shri Subuddhiji, who did discuss the challenges that are being faced by the state authorities, ULB, especially at the tourist sites. I think a very, very important aspect of plastic waste management or any type of waste management lies in the fact that we have to realize that each one of us is responsible. The responsibility starts with me and not with you. Unless we reach to that level of awareness and consciousness, no matter how strong your draft regulations are, how strong your framework are, how geared up the ULBs are, achieving 100% or achieving a satisfactory collection, recycling, reprocessing is just not possible till such time each and every individual recognizes and takes cognizance that when you are littering, at the first point of disposal, plastic or any type of packaging material has to be disposed of in the right manner. That was a very, very important point he touched upon. And of course, from a ULB's perspective, whether it will be done in a decentralized manner, and what type of role ULBs will be playing, because we all know there are states which have taken very, very proactive steps in waste management. There are some states which are yet to reach to that level. Therefore, integration and coordination between ULBs and municipalities itself remains a challenge, and we are really keen to see how the national EPR framework will address that question. We also had with us Dr. Mrs. Shamlari, who also again, touched upon the fact that waste pickers, who are actually the backbone of this entire framework or of this entire mechanism of plastic waste collection, their needs, their challenges, and the limitations within which they operate cannot be ignored today, no matter what type of framework is introduced or no matter what type of efforts and initiatives are undertaken either at public or private levels. Therefore, waste pickers ultimate, integration into this whole framework and how they derive benefit out of it has to be kept in mind. And we fully agreed with that suggestion of Mrs. Shamla. Dear friends, we've also come a very, very long way, having tested the waters. As most of you are aware, ours was the first uh, experiment, first set of pilot that was undertaken to find out what can be done at a national level. We've been to almost all these states, and we have, really been through a very, very rough patch. Uh, Whether it was before the Maharashtra government, we are still continuing to, make our submissions before the Tamil Nadu government. We've been to Chandigarh, we've been to Uttarakhand, we've been to Goa. I mean, just name a state, we've all been there. However, we stuck to our ground, we stuck to our belief, and consciously, slowly, we have been able to persuade the authorities to agree with our line of thought. And especially in Punjab, if you see the setting of the first PPP model to actually try whether there can be a collective concerted effort going and taking this initiative further has really proved successful to a very large extent. It has its own set of challenges, but we have remained undeterred in our belief and in our endeavors so far. You know, we've been through such tough weathers, but given the conviction, I would want to just dedicate 2 lines here to the entire team and to all my members. As they say, अगर हौसले लगे टूटने अगर हौसले लगे टूटने तो इतना याद रख लेना, बिना मेहनत के हासिल तक तो ताज नहीं होते, ढूंढ लेते हैं अंधेरों में मंजिल अपनी, क्योंकि जुगनू रोशनी के मोहताज नहीं होते. So friends, we have continued our journey with passion and commitment, and I think today when we see draft EPR framework getting notified, we derive a lot of satisfaction and contentment of the fact that our efforts and our belief stand vindicated. We also emerged successful because of a very, very strong pool of technical and intellectual capital that we have in our society. We are really fortunate, that today the representation in WeCare is not just comprising of either legal, regulatory, packaging, regulatory, but we have such a healthy mix, such healthy experts representing different, thought processes, that we have been able to churn out the best possible solutions. We look at it from a commercial perspective, from a viability perspective. We also look what will be the short-term benefits, what will be the long-term benefits. And really, the recipe for making this whole exercise successful has been this strong, pool of people who are there, who are supporting us, and who have brought us to this level. Our experts are in fact today to talk about some of the nuances around this subject. What if this packaging is prohibited? Do we have even alternate packaging materials available? How is it that they are going to evolve? What are the advantages of MLP and what are the advantages of this packaging over other forms of packaging? What impact will it have on the environment if we were to switch in a short term without really thinking through the benefits in the long run? And similarly, what impacts how we can build value for the entire level of people who are involved in this. So without much ado, and I would want to now invite our expert group of panel to shed some more light and educate us on where we stand today in terms of looking at MLP and plastics as packaging material versus how this journey is going to be here on 2020 onwards. Thank you so much, and I look forward to a very, very interesting and engaging discussion.
Thank you, Dr. Sood, for the welcome note. I think it has kind of set the tone for today's webinar. We now move towards our main session of the day on Journey to Sustainable Alternative. Let's get to know our panelists. Today we have with us Mr. Harish Kumar, Assistant Director Standards, FSSAI. He started his career with the Indian Institute of Packaging and recently joined FSSAI as Assistant Director and is working on packaging related regulations. Welcome to the webinar, sir. Our next panelist is Dr. Smita Mohanty, who holds the position of Director and Principal Scientist in CPET Bhubaneswar. She holds 16 years of research experience and has been the author of more than 150 research publications in international journals and prime inventor of 6 patents. And she would be joining us very shortly on the panel. I now invite Mr. R. Muthu Subramanian, CEO Packfora. Prior to this, Mr. Subramanian was working as Program Director, Sustainable Flexible Packaging for Unilever. In the last 26 years, he has held a series of assignments in packaging, R&D, supply chain technology, planning and procurement functions. Welcome, sir, to the panel. Our next panelist is from the industry, Mr. Vipul Babu, Sales Director, Dow Packaging and Specialty Plastics, Dow Chemicals International Private Limited. He has been leading value chain collaboration in flexible packaging industry for the past many years and has played lead role in driving recyclable packaging solutions in flexible packaging industry in India. I also welcome Mr. Sunil Bhagwat, Vice President Flexo and Tube Laminate Business, Huhtamaki, and he's also a proud PK member. He has more than 24 years of experience in flexible packaging industry and has been involved on several technical and technological developments in building flexible packaging solutions for the consumer companies. I welcome all the panelists once again. And today's session is being moderated by Mr. Varun Banerjee, Corporate Packaging Development Manager, Nestle India. Thank you so much.
So good morning, everyone. Great, nice day. And I welcome, thanks Atul, thanks Nilima for the introduction. And all the delegates has joined. Thanks Smita, Dr. Smita for joining the call. In the last minute, you are not well. Hope you are fine now and feeling better. Thanks for joining. I also like to thank all the delegates, Mr. Bipul Babu, the Muthu Subramaniam, Harish Kumar, and Sunil Bhagwat for the today's session. As you all know, and it has been reiterated that a sustainable journey of packaging material is key to make it a eco-friendly packaging. More in the sense, today MLP is an integral part of the packaging. How does we change our journey towards more eco-friendly packaging? Just to give the context that packaging is the fifth largest sector in Indian economy today, and it is growing at a pace of 20 to 25% per annum. Also, if you look at the flexible packaging, it is growing at a pace of 25% and rigid packaging at 15%, with industry like pharmaceutical, foods and beverage is taking the major chunk of the volume of the growth in the packaging. If I look at the kind of transition is happening on the sustainable packaging is also very good, and it is taking good shape in our context. So just to start with, maybe I would like to call upon Dr. Smita Mohanty on the project, like what CPET has been doing also on the alternate to MLP towards more biodegradable and compostable packaging. Dr. Smita, maybe a thoughts to give to all the panelists, and we would like to see that how the journey can be taken over to make it a altogether a sustainable packaging. Over to you, Dr. Smita.
Yes, thank you, Varunji. And in fact, this was a last minute I joined it. So yes, as regards to sustainable packaging, biodegradable polymers, yeah, we can say that so far in India, whatever has been propagated, it is because it is only the carry bags. So far, you can see that biodegradable packaging, it is only the carry bags which has been promoted. which has been certified, and the compostability requirements were ascertained. And as regards to the packaging of these biopolymers for different kind of applications, whether ranging from food grains or any kind of other applications, I think more scientific validation is required in the context, because so far those things are not established. Because many of the customers, we have the feedbacks of complaining like the strength, the stability, then economic viability, which is always there with the compostable polymers, because it's almost 3 times the cost, although the cost has gone down in the advanced countries in the US and all. So all these things in our country, it needs to be established. And I would like to point out one thing here also, because a scientific validation is required in these kind of materials, how it behaves. Like for example, if you are going for any chips packaging or any kind of biscuit packaging or something like that, or any perishable good packaging, it needs to have suitability requirements as per the barrier properties, and other factors needs to be considered in addition to strength and other properties. So far in India, we have only validated the usability with regard to the compostability aspects. We have not evaluated anything beyond that. If you look at the Indian market so far, what we have validated, what we have taken for these kind of compostable materials, it is only 17088, ISO 17088 standard as per CPCB certification, whether it is a compostable material or not. That's it. Beyond that, we never received any kind of characterization or validation of packing these kind of packing chips, for chips packaging, for food grain packaging, for oil packaging, or anything, food and beverages. We have not received these kinds of queries. But now slowly, I think compostable market, they are trying to establish their foothold in this kind of applications as well. So all of us should scientifically evaluate how far these materials are competent, how far these materials are suitable for any kind of applications in Indian context, what is their economic viability. Another point I would like to tell here is that so far in India, we have only the distributors of compostable materials. We don't have any company which is producing PLA or PBAT, or you can say PBSA, all these kind of pellets. We only get it, we only outsource it from the foreign markets. We don't have the production, we don't have the technology here to manufacture, to go for PLA or PBAT kind of things. So that's all I can say regarding the compostable materials. Yes, multi-layer, we have a problem in the multi-layer. We received in the past, I'm talking about 2018, when the laws came in with your all regulations, 2016 the plastic waste management rules came, then it got revised again in 2018, where compostable polymers were allowed. Now, as regards to MLP, still we are finding a lot of companies are producing multi-layer packaging which are recyclable. As per the standard 14534, it meets the required criteria of recyclability. We can recycle them. We can see their, their properties and other things as per the requirements. And we have clearly given them a strategy. Like, you can recycling them through mechanical recycle technique, and other than pharmaceutical applications and food contact applications, you can easily use them. So I don't think there will be any problem. And what we suggest is that we can go for, instead of a like multi-layer packaging, we can go for polymers of same origin, of same type of polymers, so that compatibility is established. Recycling factor also is good, and we don't have any problem as regards to, technicality, processability, and then validation of the properties. So Varun, this is my comment, and anything I'm open to answering any queries in case you have. Industry has been working with us. We have been receiving a lot of sampling criteria for validating, and now we have touched, CPET in fact has touched a point where we can easily find out, we can easily observe which mixture of plastics can go into the recycling stream, which cannot be recycled. You know, we have done so much of validation and so much of criteria evaluation we have done. We can predict which kind of MLP can easily get recycled, which cannot get easily recycled, what you need to do, how to intervene, what are the process methods you need to follow, and what are the validation and the property requirements you can keep intact. So that is my comment, and I'm open to any kind of discussion and any queries from other panelists as well.
Thank you, Dr. Smita. A quick question on the similar line. Is there a good compostable facility exist in the country now to really support your tests and trials which are being done?
There is an Indian, what you can see is that at CPET, we have now established 9 different centers are testing it as regards to compostability. And it should not be only compostability. Compostable polymers also need to have their property requirements that we are forgetting. We are just, see, when they were targeting only for the compostability, it was only the carry bags, because that is what is being found in the litter. So we were thinking that yes, compostability is the only criteria. Now, when these kind of polymers, they are already trying to establish their foothold into the market. So other factors also needs to be established as regards to their performance characteristics, their barrier performance, their mechanical strength for different type of end use applications. We have the composting facility intact. Yes, industrial composting facility, which I am not sure quite, but they are mentioning that they have an industrial composting facility, but I don't know, I am not sure whether in the country it is prevalent. But we have the testing and the certification criteria at CPET. We have an in-house industrial composting site also here in our centers where the things can be proven, the technology can be proven.
Thank you, Dr. Smita. Now, I just wanted to, what I can capture is that you are saying the compostability solution tests are being done in CPET, but as a larger picture, still the food packaging doesn't have a compostable solution in hand yet. It can be an alternate to polybag, but it cannot be a replacement of MLP or replacement of the plastic packaging right away in the compostable journey.
I don't say that it cannot be a replacement, because I have nothing to comment on the new material. I just wanted to point out that so far what we have established that yes, it meets the required criteria of ISO 17088 and it is a compostable material. That has been validated across the country, that has been validated in CPCB. But as regards to substitution of compostable material for other polymers, it needs to be scientifically evaluated in Indian context. I'm repeating it once again, it needs to be scientifically evaluated in Indian context with respect to its performance characteristics. That's all I can say.
Okay, thank you. So, well understood, ma'am. It's some of the compostability standard and the test methods which you are proposing that we can get it done at CPET. And we would also require definitely some help from your side also in the sustainable packaging journey from CPET side. And
it is my sincere request to all of you that whatever facility, whatever characterization you need, we are open to it. We are not just only testing, we do a lot of assignments on R&D. Okay. So a lot of companies in the past have been associated with us, like PepsiCo and GXT Green. As you can see, they have been associated with us in the journey. So what is my suggestion is that any scientific viability, let me pinpoint that it is not only testing, it is the scientific validation. Supposedly you have a barrier performance of X, but you require a barrier performance of Y. So how to establish the targeted set of properties? Those things can also be carried out. Those things can also be taken as a form of R&D, and we are prepared to do it. So in case you have any such type of activity, please feel free to contact us. We'll help you out in any of the aspects, starting from blown film from a small bench scale to pilot scale development. As you know, we have a culture of helping the industry. We can extend our entire facility for that. Mr. Varun, I think you have to unmute.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, to all the attendees, please put your Q&A and we'll be taking it up in the end of the session. We have separately kept 20 to 30 minutes in that. Thank you, everyone. So I'll move to Harish for this area connecting to this compostability and biodegradability. Any steps has been taken to establish standard on biodegradability conditions under various conditions, how this will really work, particularly how it is really going to work on the end of life situation in the biodegradable material. Is there any insight from your side you can discuss, or any standards are being coming up which could be adopted, Harish?
Thank you, Mr. Barun. Thank you, WeCare, for having me here. As far as biodegradable materials are concerned, we have been receiving representations from various industries asking, asking them to, permit them to allow it for the use of food packaging. So in that context, we actually are taking it on a case-to-case basis. If they say that they are qualifying, they are meet the specifications of the international standards as well as the Indian standards, and in that case we are taking it one by one, and yeah, we are doing it. That is what I would say on biodegradable plastics. As far as FSSAI is concerned, if the material is safe and does not pose any risk on human health, it is okay for us.
Harish ji, I would like to intervene here.
Yes, ma'am.
Whatever you have said that they are requiring the international standards, it is perfectly fine.
Yes.
But in today's scenario, we need to meet the Indian standards as well.
Yes,
we
yes.
need to have a certification. We need to see that whether it is validated in Indian context or not.
Yes,
so in that regard, I think recently they had contacted us.
Okay.
And the entire Indian Compostable Association has contacted our Director General and our competent authority.
Okay.
So the things are, yes, it is a material and it has been accepted in the international criteria. They are fulfilling it, but it needs to be strongly evaluated, scientifically evaluated and validated in Indian context. So I think those things they need to do, and they need to establish the facts.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Varunji, please unmute. We are not able to hear you.
Okay, I think this is something. Okay, fine. I will like to go over to Muthu on this. Now, we discussed about biodegradable polymers. We started with the compostable polymer, Dr. Smita. Muthu, with your long stint in HUL with as a program director for sustainability end-to-end, and now as a CEO of Backflow, which you started to initiate this entire. How do you look at the MLP alternatives, scale up, challenges, and how do you really look at future of sustainable packaging going over? You, Muthu.
Hey, thank you, Barun, and wonderful connecting with all of you, and thank you, WeCare, for having us here. Just to, I think you have asked a very simple question, but it's a very complex answer. So let me try to break your question into a few parts. So your question is, what are the substitutes for MLP, and what are the challenges and opportunities do we see in that? Yeah. First of all, I want to clearly bring the benefits of multi-layer plastic. I think before we comment about its challenge, it's important to understand the benefit, because flexible packaging, as Barun in the beginning said, or Tarunji said, that it brings the most value with the least consumption of material. Okay, despite all these challenges, in the global packaging economy of 1 trillion, the fastest growing packaging format is flexible packaging. Yeah, so we will be surprised to hear this. So therefore, the reason why flexible packaging is still growing is for its value that it brings on the table. And I personally believe that had plastic not been invented 78 years back, we would have had our third world war, much longer, because it has kind of brought our reliance on natural materials such as wood or metal. Yeah. And even if we were to look at wood or metal substituting today's 7 billion population, it wouldn't be possible. So while flexible packaging has done that kind of a balanced support for the population growth, let's now look at what is the real challenge. Okay, the real challenge is how do we economically collect such a tiny material, and responsibly relife them and bring them back into circular economy. Yeah. So there are 3 or 4 moving parts here. Okay. And I'll talk about each one of them in a small way, and then say what are the opportunities and challenges. The first element is, okay, expecting somebody else will do it on our behalf, okay, will never resolve this challenge. What I mean by that is every consumer has a responsible action to start appropriate segregation at their home front. While government has certainly brought the element of dry and wet segregation, I think that's where the circularity starts. Because if you don't have that, then if it gets mixed up, we don't have sorting centers as much as what other countries have. Therefore, then you have contaminated waste. Then it requires higher cleaning cycle. Then the economic viability of repurposing takes for a very tough challenge. So the first is segregation. The second one is bringing that awareness to consumer and educating the common man and young children. I think today I must say that sadly the train has left the station. People have a perception that plastic is bad. Yeah, I think what communication needs to go in consumer awareness is plastic is good. The way you are repurposing your newspaper, you do have an economic value through plastic. Yeah, that's the second aspect of the element that needs to be highlighted. The third moving part in the journey of circularity is in terms of bringing appropriate regulation that basically enables people to consider and make an appropriate choice and move towards more and more circular materials. Yeah. And here I see a need, VCare is doing a great job, but how do we bring a consortium of people, similar to the CE Flex in Europe, and how can you establish a consortium in India where the industry talks about one common approach and solution. Today, you have multiple choices and multiple approaches that needs to be converged. And there is a responsibility industry has to bring that convergence in thought process. Therefore, the stakeholders in the government or in the appropriate level can take an appropriate action to bring circularity. The fourth element is in terms of course, moving towards recyclable and segmenting the plastic to what is recyclable, what is not recyclable, and where do we need, and taking appropriate action. So these are the moving parts. Coming to your specific question, Barun, in terms of how do we therefore undertake this journey towards circularity for MLP? First of all, the world is looking at can MLP, not MLP per se. I think the single-use plastic per se. Can we move into alternate packaging format? Yeah, I think it's a little far-fetched thought. Okay. All I would propose is we should first question whether that pack should be in MLP or not. If it has to be in MLP, is there an appropriate solution available? And there again, I will look at two things. One, can you balance the compostable material with appropriate barrier? And I will not talk about composting because I have some additional comments to what the panelists have already spoken. But I just want to leave one important thought there, and then we'll come to the solution. The compostability is not simply industrial composting. Yeah, compostability is a far bigger definition. People are looking at home composting, marine composting, and industrial composting, and of course soil composting. Yeah, so the definitions and bars are rising higher. But if there are solutions that can meet the four hurdles that industry is trying to define for compostability and provide the barrier properties, then we should look at that as a less effort for collection. Therefore, that product can safely be disposed either in soil or the extractor. That is one route people can take. But where it is not easily available because the technology is not ready fully, then the team has to come together, which is what WeCare is trying to do, and really laud the initiatives to look at how can we responsibly collect and recycle and move towards more and more recyclable materials. So we have to look at all options on the table and make an informed choice, Barun.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you. So, if I now look at the very one point which I noted, Muthu, is how do we bring consortium like CPLEX? CPLEX, I think, to make it a one common approach on the solution, whether it is recyclable, reusable, purposeful plastics, or it is compostable or biodegradability. Are you two ready for the compostable right now or not? I think these are the questions which definitely, with CPET, Dr. Mohanty joining, and BIS team, Harish joining, I think we should be able to really see those questions. That is there an alternative to MLP? Again, I am going back to Dr. Smita for a quick maybe update. Is there any other R&D or university you can suggest for collaborations? These are the questions coming from audience. I'm just taking it because it's a very pertinent question to just touch base, and maybe a few quick pointers from Dr. Mohanty and Harish.
I think, see, where there is a need, where there is a necessity, there is an invention, what I can say. But yes, MLP, as Muthu sir rightly pointed out, we have a lot of benefits which people, they ignore because of our littering habits and a lot of, waste management criteria and all these things. But yes, substitution and viability, as I have already pointed out, because if you see European plastic waste management and other things, the documents which is already available open in the open resource, as you can point out, they have been suggesting the how to go for recyclability or of the MLPs and all. What to suggest? Like there should be proper research on suggesting of single polymer. I mean, instead of different kinds of family of polymers, you can suggest for a single polymer and try to enhance the property, try to see that how it meets the required criteria. So
Dr. Mohanty, just to jump, is there a catalog or a MLP for oxidative or moisture product which CPET is working where companies?
Yes, we are currently working on that because there have been several requirements from different kinds of industries. So we have been working, and so wherever there is a necessity, we can do the things. And the industry approaches us, as usual, the industry approaches us with a specific targeted set of properties, and we try to develop it for them. So this is how we do it. And because, the barrier is something that needs to be addressed. Okay. The thing is that when you go for any kind of packaging application, there is a set limit of your barrier performance and your barrier stability, and all these things needs to be established. So in multi-layer, whatever so far we were having, There was a metallized coating in that, a lot of things were there. So 2 layers or 3 layers, and then accordingly we were trying to protect the food grains and other things. So now with the demands, with the plastic waste management rules coming into place, that you need to have a recycling plastic, recyclable plastics, you need to have all those stubs, whatever has been defined in the waste management rules. So now people are trying to check that even if the coating is there, whether my product is recyclable or not. Okay, so this is the thing, and in fact we have received many of the films from the industry, packaging films from the industry with the coating. Some of them are amicably recycled, and some of them we face difficulty in recycling them. So we give them some of the alternative solutions also to them, what needs to be done in that context. So I think I answered your query. In case of anything, you can.
Yes, yes. Dr. Monti will be definitely happy to see some direction from CIPET on different alternate materials. Being an expert in this area, with your kind of PhD activities, which you are all working with different in industry with universities, there is a definitely need of solutions which are compostable and recyclable, which I look at the panel. There is now I have, I'll go over to Bipul. Hi Bipul. So 30 years and sales director of the Dow with, I think you are the specialized polymer making, converting company, making resins. And then I'll go to Sunil for converting. I think, what is your journey on biopolymer and how do you really like to guide the industry on different options, please?
Yeah, thanks, Varun, for the question. So before I go to the resin offering that we have for sustainable packaging, I would want to touch upon what, as a company, we are trying to achieve towards sustainable, environment. Our company's goal is to promote circular economy, and the ultimate goal is to eliminate plastic from environment. Now, this is not only goal, but we are living every component of this circular economy. So I just want to briefly mention some of the initiatives that Dow has taken in India. And I invite, all the large players in the industry to have similar approach if we at all want to solve the problem of plastic in the environment. So starting from advocacy, so Dow is working on adopting a locality near Mithi River, where we will be doing advocacy. Our employee and our, will be volunteering to advocate the population which is living on the bank of river to make sure that they don't throw plastic in the environment. So starting from advocacy, moving on to, creating a recyclable design for packaging. That's the next step we are doing. So we have created solutions which allow people to today address a completely recyclable packaging for most of the commodities which are being packed. We have also developed a range of compatibilizer which allows you to recycle some of the complex structures which has barrier in it, also become recyclable. We have now developed solutions like Tenterframe BOP, which addresses all the aesthetic gap which was existing with some of the earlier solutions which came for recyclable packaging. So now you can have aesthetically appealing packaging based on Tenterframe BOP. Then we have worked on projects which are end of life solutions, so promoting plastic waste in road construction. Then finding solutions like paver blocks or bricks which are used for low cost housing construction, and showcasing industry that there are things which are possible today. The next project we have taken on collection. Now, as we know, collection of MLP and plastic waste is one of the biggest challenge. Even if we have solutions to recycle, if we don't collect, I don't think we can address the problem. So we have piloted a project in Pune today in collaboration with one of the startup based out of Hyderabad. This is a digital platform which is reaching out to households, to institutions to collect plastic, waste from, source. So we bring, plastic in its cleanest form, and then bringing the existing informal economy on the same digital platform to connect the, dots. and making sure that we are bringing plastic to recycling industry. The next step we are taking is on bringing resin solutions. Now in resin solution, we have two approaches. One is mechanical recycling, where we are developing PCR-based solutions. We have commercially launched PCR-based resins in Asia Pacific for applications like coalition shrink or your stretch cling film. And this will make sure that part of plastic that we consume comes back into the industry. The second step we are taking is on the chemical recycling. Now, chemical recycling means making plastic from plastic. So we have collaboration in Europe with Phoenix Ecology company, and this company is in the supply of feedstock for our crackers, which are derived from recycled plastic. So we are basically offering a virgin polymer which are used currently for making primary packaging, which are made from recycled feedstock. So bringing the whole plastic back into a complete circularity. The third approach we have taken is using a renewable resource to make bio-based polyethylene. So we partnered with a company called UPM in Europe, which uses tall oil-based feedstock to make a bio-naphtha. And this bio-naphtha is fed into our reactor to produce polyethylene, which are called bio-based polyethylene. And all of this are commercially available product today. Obviously, the economics of chemical recycling and bio-based polyethylenes are not same as the conventional polyethylene. So we will have to live with it till we scale up this efforts. But industry need to come forward and support some of these initiatives so that we can scale this up and make it commercially viable solutions going forward. So Barun, these are my thoughts. I'll be happy to take any questions or any interest if audience has to know more about our product offerings.
Yeah, thank you, Bipul. I think you touched on the similar line of circular economy and how do you make the plastic friendly for the plastic circular economy. And also you have explained, touch base on the different recycling process, chemical recycling, mechanical recycling. Happy to know that internationally, globally, you are working with this. I think when we do this, definitely we need to talk to Harish also to see that if biopolymer, which are really a recyclable grades, which are equivalent to a food grade journey, and it becomes through the, how do you really differentiate? If it is not differentiable in the virgin and recycling through chemical, then it can be as good as using it in the packaging, in future. So this is something, and could you also just touch base how the industry will become a more standard MLP solution for helping the recycling or the recycler in future? What kind of approach will be taken? Because there will be biopolymer, there will be biodegradable, there will be MLP also, which are more recyclable. So what is your thought on this?
Yeah, Barun, I think this is where a foundation like WeCare, comes into play. And I think we all need to collaborate to make sure we don't create, multiple options, and then it becomes very difficult to manage when it comes to recycling. So our intent and our approach is to, develop solutions which are based on single polymer or single material. We call it mono-material based packaging, so that when it goes into recycling stream, it carries maximum value. Now, if it carries value, it has very high chance of getting recycled. So similarly, we can have all polypropylene based, packaging. We can have, a barrier packaging, which is having compatibilizer and which can get into, recycling stream without much of a problem. So basically, idea is to create value in packaging post consumption. Now, if you have done that, I think half the job is done. So that value will be picked up by the collectors and the aggregators, and it will find its way into recycling industry. I want to go back to your question on the bio-based, polyethylene. So the one which we are offering is slightly different than the biodegradable polymer that somebody mentioned in the earlier speaker in the discussion. These are bio-based polyethylene, means when the polyethylene we offer are as good as your normal polyethylene. The only difference is they are derived from, a renewable source. bio-based in that sense. It's not a biodegradable polymer, but it's a standard polythene based on a bio source. And it makes life easy because then you are, reducing the fossil fuel consumption. So again, adding up to overall resource optimization.
So it's a renewable source from which can be used to produce bio-PE. That's okay. And Vipul, what about the recycling content using in the packaging film? Could you touch base on this in India context?
So recycling content today, I don't think we have achieved, I think, a big, success so far. But in some secondary application, we have seen up to 25% recycled material, which are PCR-based resins, are being explored. And we have some solutions which are being offered now. And our aim is to bring more of this PCR resins in secondary packaging so that as an industry, we bring back all the polymer we consume and packaging that we consume.
Okay, thank you. Now I'll move to Sunil. Sunil has a lot of immense experience as well as UTCT Mumbai and business degree with him. And he is looking into the flexible packaging in HPPL. So Sunil, we heard about different materials which are under development, resins under development, the journey towards biodegradable. How is, as a converter, you see this material can be adapted in the end product application, and how will this material also and the challenges on the machine which we see as a user industry, if you can touch base on this and give your feedback.
Thank you. So at the outset, let me thank VCare being amongst my fellow members, basically wearing a double hat, being with them as well as giving some insights on polymers and multi-layered packaging. Are you able to hear me properly?
Yes, very much, Sunil. Continue.
Okay.
Thanks.
Sorry. So going back to recyclable packaging and sustainable packaging, actually, I mean, I was just thinking about it. We have really gone back towards end of, between 1970 and 75. You see, at that time we were using paper-based packaging. So a glassine paper with a wax coating was a standard product, basically used to pack a lot of plasters and flowers, etc. Plus, we had cellophane at that time, and cellophane was used in great demand and was used in packaging of biscuits and confectionery, etc. So these are the times, I think, which have come now, basically, because when we say sustainable, it means that you conserve at source, you can recycle them, and of course, you can make them recycle friendly, basically. So in these three terms is basically we can have a various options and alternatives that we can choose from. So to start with, basically, there is a lot of work which has happened in terms of converting an MLP into a paper-based packaging. So there are certain requirements on secondary applications for packaging of chocolates or packaging of certain confectionery, wherein an over-designed kind of MLP was used, and this can be converted into a strong paper-based coated kind of pouches or bags. So that is one of the alternates which is possible. So I just gave you and touched upon one alternate as regards to paper, but there are several such can be done with paper. That is number one. Number two, as I think all our other panel members have spoken about, the same family material. So if we go for PEP or PPPP, these are the types of laminates basically which can be made and which can be more recycle friendly. And that's how one can use those polymers back into the circular economy, maybe downscaling it, because at the moment there's a lot of work which is going on basically in terms of upscaling it and using it in the flexible packaging film, basically, which is quite challenging at the moment. So the PEP, PPP, PPPP or polyolefin space, so converting a kind of a polyester, aluminum foil and polyethylene, a very standard structure which has been used for many, many years, into a BOPP and a metallized BOPP kind of a laminate. So these are some of the examples which have worked and which are working today in the industry. But let me give you one perspective here, and I think we need to keep this in mind, that multi-layered packaging, when we move from a paper usage or cellophane usage to usage and manufacturing a structure of multi-layered packaging, I mean, it refined all the way. So you have a polyester which has got its own attribute, basically in terms of providing a kind of an oxygen barrier, providing a very robust and rugged material for our packing lines, basically, which are very, very important as regards to the efficiency and productivity at the consumer packing end. You have an aluminum foil, which is the greatest of the barrier which was found. And of course, the polyethylene, which has been one of the best in terms of the sealant. So seal through contamination speeds, basically in terms of liquid packaging, they are great. So just take an example from polyester foil and poly and converting it to a different PEP or PPPP structures, it is not going to be the same, because we need to go forward in this journey in terms of more research development at a primary level, in terms of refining back to that level of a barrier or functionality, or even at a sealing level, basically to get those polymers wherein we can use a PEP or a PPPP based laminate as good as a multi-layered packaging of polyester, aluminum foil and poly. So this, I think, has to be kept in mind before when we design a particular product, and I think it should be accepted. Because I think going forward, commercially, as the economy, as the scale goes up, is where the cost will come down. Plus, as we move with different materials of coatings or certain polymer sealants, is where the speeds will go up, as well as you can get a better material. So this is a journey, but I think this journey has to be taken in moving from a multi-layered, non-recyclable to a recyclable structure. So this is the second take. And the third take, of course, what we have spoken about is basically the biocompostable packaging, so industrial compostable packaging. So there are several films now which are available, which can get converted into a multi-layered using biocompostable films. But we have to keep in mind that these kind of cellophanic kind of structures are hydrophilic, so they absorb or try to gain moisture. And hence, if wherever there is an oxygen barrier requirements which need to be met, I think those structures can easily get converted into biocompostable, industrial compostable kind of laminates or multi-layered packaging. But I think all in all, at the end, let me say that all these are options which are working now. However, the most important point at the heart of this is collection and segregation, because unless this is segregated, we will not get the value of a recycled plastic, which we can put it back into the circular economy. And most importantly, the biodegradable or biocompostable plastics, it can in never way get mixed up with a PEP or PPPP like structures for recyclability, because it gives an enormous problem during recycling and further during usage. So I think this is a basic perspective, I would say, on the multi-layered packaging in its transition into a like polymer for recyclability and sustainability. So those are my thoughts on these.
Yeah, thank you, Sunil. Over to, I think what I can sum it up, that one is MLP journey, MML journey, which you discussed, another area of things. Dr. Smita, I would again like to go back to you to ask that, is there a LCA study being done, life cycle analysis, to see which is the better composition, whether it is compostable, MLP, MML? Is anything which CIPET has done which can
CIPET, currently we are doing it. We are doing it for one of the companies. We are doing it, the LCA part of it, and we are evaluating how the degradation criteria is taking place, what is exactly happening. So currently it's on actually. And during the lockdown period itself, it has started. We have been discussing, we have been having several dialogues with the company since Feb, and we have we have already initiated the work pertaining to it. So I think it will be in place after the facts and other things, figures are established technically, how it behaves and how the material goes on once it goes to the environment.
Okay, thank you. So I want to just, before going to the Q&A session, thanks all the panelists for joining. And before starting, could you also give your one thoughts to conclude this, that how will be one thought from each of you for the packaging journey which we are looking at as a sustainable packaging journey? I'll start with Dr. Mohanty.
Uh, well, I think if you look at the sustainable journey, yes, many of the stalwarts have rightly pointed out we need to have a circular economy in place. We need to develop a material which has a economic viability, which has a recyclability conditions, as well as fulfilling the desired set of properties what we need. And at the same time, as a country, we need to check how it is economically viable. Whatever packaging solutions we opt, it needs to have all the things in place. So it's not a single thing which I would like to point on. It has to be a multiple factors which needs to be taken into account. And another thing is that yes, we have the rules and the regulations in place. We have all the defined waste management rules in 2018, which is already in place. We need to opt for better segregation methodologies. We need to adopt the better segregation methodologies and to keep the EPR factor intact, like home collection, source to source collection. All these things needs to be mandated, and the EPR and other things, the responsibility should be there with all the stakeholders, all the leading players in the companies, so that at the end of the day, whatever plastics and the waste we generate, we are able to recycle them amicably. We can able to go for a product validation, and we should have a some of the things like we should have high-end applications as well. It should not happen that today whatever the recycled content we are getting it, and the recycled content practically goes into very, very low grade application. That should not be the criteria. Like in all the European countries and other things, like food to food recycling is being allowed. But so far in Indian context, it has not been established. Maybe some of the things we need to consider, and first and the prime importance lies with the waste management system which we have in the country, the segregation, the source segregation, then the sorting mechanism, and then then the next part comes to in the hands of the recycling companies, as well as the plastic technologists who can take it forward. That is one aspect. Second aspect, yes, of course, improvising the quality of the material. Quality of the material, it is an ongoing activity which all the companies, they do it. It is a process. It needs to be validated, and every point of time, this is an ongoing research, and it will go on with the demands and with the help of the scientific fraternity as well as the industry, academia. So all these things can come into, it can be developed, and it can be things. And as regards to the biopolymers or the compostable polymers, yes, this is a kind of material which has come up, but we need to take care of all the other things as well, like the strength of the material, the properties of the material, industrial composting facility, how well it goes into the environment, post-disposal mechanism, once it is considered for other kind of packaging, starting from perishable goods to your food grain packaging and other things. So that's all I would like to pinpoint, Varunji, here. Thank you.
We have been connecting with CIPET on various development, and as a WeCare, we also would like to really connect with you on more technological advancement and the material development. I would go to Harish for one thought for the session. Harish, over to you. Okay, Harish, you are in mute. I'll go to Muthu, please.
Yeah, thanks, Varun. I'll just say 2 sentences. Come together, innovate.
Very nice. Thank you. Over to Bipul?
Yeah, Varun, I would say collaboration is the key. I think no one company or no one country can solve this challenge. It's a global challenge, and more so in country like India, where you have large population and consumption points are many times closer to the water bodies. So collaborate, participate in all the initiatives of circular economy, and jointly together we can solve this challenge that we have.
Very nice. Over to Sunil.
Yeah, so my thought on this is that given this particular perspective and ecosystem what we are in, all the value stakeholders in consumer food packaging, I think, should come together basically and start moving into a recyclable, packaging, at least to begin with, and things will follow, I think. So at a very ground level. Yes.
Yeah, again, I think we are talking about collaboration, participation to work on different solution. Is Harish back?
Yes, yes.
Harish, one thought from you on going forward on the sustainable journey.
Yeah, to address sustainability and innovation, we at FSSAI are planning to review our packaging regulations so as to accommodate sustainable alternatives and eco-friendly materials. And in that front, we have permitted the use of other food-grade materials for packaged drinking water and mineral water. And apart from that, we have started working on the rPET for food packaging. So this is how we are addressing sustainability as of now.
Very good, Harish. So, rPET in food packaging, I think one is to connect you, get more information, work on specification and standardization, and maybe that's a good direction, Harish. Thanks for this. Now I'll go to the Q&A session. Sunil, for you, there is just wanted to understand, is there any white paper on recyclability of structures? There are also questions on, is the adhesives that are more recyclable compared to PU based adhesive in the recycling? Is there need for setting a separate recycling stream for compostable and biodegradable polymer? I think this I'll go to Dr. Smita if she is still in the call. Or else first two questions to Sunil, if you can give on the matrix.
See, as regards to white paper, I mean, it would be a very, very long one because what is required out of that particular packaging for the end product needs to be really specified. But I think across the streams of products, solutions are available. And, you can just touch base upon whatever is the need for that particular product in terms of its barrier, shelf life, functionality, speeds on the packing machine, etc. And it can be designed. As regards to adhesives, yes, there are certain adhesive nomenclatures which have come in, wherein we can reduce the thickness of usage of adhesives, thus making it more recycle friendly. So there are certain regulations or even certain norms which have come from the European flexible packaging industry also as regards to the thickness on coatings and adhesives, and the products are available, so it can easily be done. Yeah.
And Sunil, what are the machinability challenges you have seen on PET-P versus poly-poly, the MML structure journey?
Yeah, so one of the important things, as I mentioned in my earlier talk as well, that polyester foil poly has been the the backbone of the industry for as regards to food packaging, and the polyester gives you that kind of heat resistance and the speed for the machines what are there at the end of our line in terms of packing. And the polyethylene basically gives you that kind of seal through contamination, and of course with usage of various resins and modifying the recipe in terms of the strength of the film and hence the strength of the packaging, etc. Now, when we go to a PEP structure or a PPPP structure, of course, one polymer, that is polyethylene, or PPPP, if it's polypropylene, it cannot serve everything. So there are sacrifices which are made in terms of speed, because polypropylene will seal at 165, 170 degrees centigrade. Polyethylene will seal at, say, 110 to 130, it can go even lower. So the speed at which polyethylene will run, polypropylene will not run. So you have to reduce the speeds, and the strength of the seal will not be as good as polyethylene seal. So it really depends on what kind of product is being packed. The other thing is that as regards to a PE pack, since the seal bars come in contact with the polyethylene, there are certain insulating coatings, etc., which are required. Otherwise, you have the seal bars touching the polyethylene and actually almost getting welded there. So you need to reduce temperature, you need to reduce speed, you need to modify the machines. I think one of the joint exercises was done with Bosch by Dow at that time when we had supplied the polyethylene basically for a BEP pack for table salt. So these are some of the, I think, collaborations which need to take place. First of all, one needs to understand that exactly matching a refined multi-layer packaging, we need to get into this journey to fine tune it and then take it to the end. So those are the differences, and I mean, we need to accept it and face it head on and improvise step by step.
Thank you. Muthu, I want to go to you to say that how are the machinability trials with different monomaterial or packaging? Is there any machine changes required a big time investment in the capex? What is your thought around this?
Yeah, sure, Varun. I think Sunil already kind of touched upon this. Basically, I think when you look at the overall the design of a flexible packaging, as he rightly said, the polyester does take a lot of abuse, and therefore it gives a lot of wider operating window, where particularly from a supply chain and manufacturing standpoint. So when you are substituting either with all polypropylene structures or polyethylene structures, the delta temperature difference between the outermost layer and innermost layer do narrow down significantly. You don't therefore want to have, while you are trying to affect a seal, you don't want to burn and have blemishes on the outer side surface of the film. And also the overall tensile strength properties of these films also vary. Therefore, its ability to unwind, get formed and get sealed and sealed, and seal retained, through the seal through contamination until its full life. All of this will need some changes in the supply chain. But the beauty of that is, when you come together as a collective team between machine manufacturer, the supply chain experts and the converter of the films, including the feedstock providers, you are able to provide appropriate solutions. So the short answer is yes, it would need, you have to look into the potential control system, the unwinding mechanism, to the seal jaw profile, to the seal jaw coating, as well as the appropriate seal initiation temperatures of the feedstock, and then upgrade the machine to come to one stage, and also make sure that the material also, through the choice of materials, you are able to widen the operating window. Both will have to be done. You can't expect only the machine guy to heavy lift and not do anything on the material. So you have to kind of partner and see what can be done on the machine front, what can be done on the material front to achieve appropriate same level of efficiency and cost.
Thank you, Muthu, on this. I have a question, and the question coming for Dr. Smita. What is the final output of biodegradation and composting? And is there a need for setting up a separate recycling stream for compostable and biodegradable polymers?
See, final need for biodegradable polymers, I mean, I didn't get it actually. What exactly he needs to understand that what is the final need? As regards to compostable requirements, yes, there is a standard pertaining to it as per 17088. It needs to certify the biodegradable requirements. And yes, as regards to the recyclability of these kind of materials, we can recycle them, but that again amicably needs to establish and scientifically validate it. Because so far that request has never come to us. Although we have been doing our in-house R&D of how best we can recycle this kind of materials.
Varun,
I hope I am clear. Yes.
no, I just want to add to what Madam Smita said. Just there are two approaches to circularity. One is biological circularity, other one is technical circularity. And in technical circularity, the way Vipul talked about, you have chemical and mechanical recycling. In biological circularity, you make the polymer to degenerate into carbon and hydrogen separately.
Yes.
Yeah, and therefore, globally, people don't mix both these polymers together yet. As Madam said, there is more research to be done. That is one of the challenges we have to recognize, because, for example, the industrial compostable polymer is not preferred in the existing recycling stream of the conventional fossil-based polymers,
Yes.
because they do create problems in the supply chain of recycling and repurposing stages.
Yes.
Therefore, yeah, I wanted to bring that clarity, because that's what I think the team was asking or trying
that's
to.
that's
Thank
very
you,
true,
Muthu.
sir. That's very true. This cannot be combined with the normal recycling of your polyolefins or any kind of other polymers which are coming into picture, because this is a completely different polymer, different material altogether. And as you have rightly pointed out, they need an industrial composting facility where it can be converted into biomass and carbon dioxide and biomass, as it has been established as per the standard requirements. They need their deterioration and their degradation criteria is completely different if you compare vis-a-vis P or PET or any kind of materials what you find. So the collection stream, as you can see, as regards to the plastics waste management, the compostable polymers, they fall into separate category. So their compostable, their collection stream, they cannot be contaminated with the existing recycled, the recyclable polymers. I hope it's clear now.
Yeah, I think,
Currently.
yeah, Doctor, the point I think Muthu also clarified, I think the industrial versus home compostability is the two stream which we are always debating, So polylactic acid, bio-PBS, PHA, different materials are, PLA is because it's industrial compostable and coming, is not being so much into the, although the demand has there and no, although the supply is there, correction, but demand is going down, because the home compostability route is the new way forward. If we have to really see the composting part, that's the question which I think the gentleman wanted to ask. And thanks for your reply. And to Harish, one question is coming with the recycle PET have a leaching issue. What would be your thought on this?
Yeah, it is. We are just putting things on paper. We have the project proposal. It is yet to be discussed and deliberated. Based on scientific data and experimental evidence, only this will be allowed.
Okay, thanks. So with this, I thank all the eminent speaker and the delegate for joining us today. We have managed the time well within the stipulated time. Is there any last minute, any question from anyone from the WeCare team? Please put it forward, or else I would like to conclude the session. So I'll request in that case Kajal to please take over and convey your thoughts, please. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah.
Kajal, for
Hi.
please.
Yeah. So thank you, Barun, and for this interactive session you have conducted. So a warm and graceful good morning to our most valued honorable panelists, all participants, we care all members for this another second webinar. So first webinar we had on 14th July, and today we have another webinar, which is extended webinar of our first webinar, where we spoke about this sustainable alternative journey. So it's my privilege to really propose a vote of thanks and a contribution to those who has worked really hard to make this happen. So I just wanted to thank Dr. Smita Mohanty, Principal Scientist, CPET, Dr. Harish Kumar, Assistant Standard FSCCI, Mr. Muthu Subramanian, CEO, PAC4A, Mr. Vipul Vora, Babu, Sales Director, Dow Packaging and Specialty Plastic. Our colleague, Mr. Sunil Bhagwat, VP, Flexo Tube Laminate. Our President, Dr. Atul Sood, my We Care colleague, Mr. Barun. So this has been a wonderful session. I hope all the participants have enjoyed this. To summarize this comprehensively of both the sessions, actually, of earlier webinar also, as Dr. Atul has touched upon in the morning, that there was a requirement of harmonized, simplified regulations, and there should be, for EPR, there should be a realistic timelines to have to conduct, and going forward, it has to be a public, government, industry participation is the key for tackling this plastic waste. Obviously, banning is not the solution, and hence we are discussing today about the sustainable EPR. So various discussion has taken place. Barun has touched upon in last webinar, which is the extended discussions. Today we had that different polymers should have different mode of kind of handling the disposal plastics, and we should really look forward that there is a alternative, there are technology and the intensive research and technology which is required to do that. So if I talk about today's takeaway, Dr. Smita has touched upon that biodegradable, which has been limited to the carry bags only, and then there is a lot of scientific validation is required in terms of MLP per se, and as of now the request has come for them only for carry bags, because she has emphasized that it is very much required that each of these there is for various kind of MLP being used for chips or various biscuits. It has got various kind of layers of packaging, which also has got various kind of barrier properties. So through this biodegradable, where it is the one property, other things need to have a scientific validation. And one thing which all of the panelists has spoken is that there is a requirement of to support the circular economy by choosing the single polymer base, which will be easier for the our EPR, and Mr. Muthu has suggested that there are ways of segregation, making awareness, bringing regulatory framework, and this is the way actually it has to go. Apart from the circularity of the material, which will have, whether it's a home, whether it's a marine, or whether it's for soil, which is the compostability part, and along with that, if we can add the barrier property of it, which is an intensive research and all, which will take, the technology has to come forward. Mr. Vipul Babu also has spoken and emphasized about the circular economy, and he has given a lot of solution. He spoke about bioethylene, and of course he also has said that the monomaterial, which is much better to take it forward. And our colleague Mr. Sunil has touched upon that paper-based packaging, and then earlier the cellophane, which has been packed for biscuits and confectionery. Probably we need to conserve at source, and then and find out the solution for recyclability. So there are various other several kind of such initiatives other than the paper-based. What he said can also be taken care of. So same family material, which he has been emphasizing, which I also told, there was some same consensus among all the speakers. So Barun has spoken that what is the life cycle analysis. I think CPET has really Madam Dr. Smita has spoken that yes, they do LCA and that evaluates the degradation criteria and other things. And in the sum up, I think the main key takeaway is that we need to look forward for this is a journey and for sustainable, and economic viability is one of the things. We need to come together, and collaboration is the key. So with these the comprehensive takeaways, I just wanted to thank all the panelists on behalf of WeCare. I extend a really hearty vote of thanks to our panel member who spared their valuable time from their busy schedule to grace this occasion. Today we had an opportunity to hear your thoughts and look forward to things to progress in that direction. We will be in touch with you to take it forward. We look forward to have some more advanced kind of, as Varun has also said that WeCare would connect with CPET, WeCare would connect with other stakeholders to take forward this journey. Thanks to all the webinar participating members. They have enriched their participation and by giving a lot of queries. We look forward to take a series of other webinars where we would like to see that you participate and provide your thoughts, encouraging thoughts to take it forward. I really thank to all the participating members. I also thank the technical and administrative team of our red carpet entertainers, Megha, Abhay, Vishal, for their collaborative effort to make this happen. It is not, it cannot happen that in 2 successive, webinars, they have taken the technical support to us, and in the short time, they made it successful. Last but not least, I must thank each members of our webinar group, Dr. Priyank, Dr. Varun Banerjee, who is there today, Snigdha is there, Garima Singh, Ayaz, Sanjeev, Antara, and Nilima, and all other WeCare members who had made really supported us in this thought process. And we look forward to receive all kind of encouraging comments to take it forward. So I thank everybody, and I look forward that we just keep on glued to our website to know the way forward, various kind of other communication on these directions. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I would just like to mention that many participants, we have not been able to take all of your questions, but we'll definitely try and reply you separately.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks
Thank
again.
you. Thank you.
Thanks for the journey.